Well, let's get into some preseason previews, the remaining teams that we have. And you may be looking at the list wondering, why is Oklahoma and Texas on this list? Because we've already included them and brought them into the fold of the SEC.
That's right. They are SEC.
We're so excited to have them. And that's about the only nice thing we're going to say about them. Welcome to the SEC.
That's right.
Now, we have some fans that actually responded that love their team enough that they recorded videos, preview videos. I can't even talk.
You're so excited that they love their team that much, right?
And so Zach, one of our longtime listeners, who is a big-time Oklahoma fan, sent in a video. So let's go ahead and watch Zach's preseason prediction for the Oklahoma Sooners.
All right, so the University of Oklahoma Sooners, I'm projecting this year that they go 10-2. Looking at the schedule this year, last year in the Big 12, they got to face some of the newer opponents, and it seems to be a little bit easier than it has in the past. Their biggest opponent this year is Texas, and besides Texas, there's really not a lot to technically look forward to. There'll probably be a couple slip-up games, not really knowing which one it will be. This year, I expect the defense to improve upon from last year. Second year under Brent Venables, they should be able to learn his system a little bit more, and that should help them out. The offense should still continue to click, and I'd expect a good year. Hopefully they can get better on the offensive and defensive side of the ball on the line as they prepare for the SEC. So Boomer Sooner.
All right, so before we talk about Zach's video, it made me think of something that I wanted to talk about at the first of this because it was a first-time experience for me. So, this is the first year we've been doing YouTube. Everything else has been a podcast, audio only. So one of the things that happens when you start doing videos is people recognize you, or at least that's what happens to other people, not to us, right? Well, I was walking through the store last week first of last week and had someone stop me and tell me that they were a big fan of the podcast. They've been watching on YouTube, and it was actually two people. And one of the fans was a very young fan, and she was super excited about being able to watch Pops on YouTube. So you have any guesses who that might be?
Nice. I think we heard her in the background.
I think you're right. That's awesome.
But the vicious horns down at the end, is that still a 15-yard penalty?
I think where's David when we need him?
Yeah, David, where's the flag?
Yeah.
Has the rule changed? I don't know.
It will when they get to the SEC. But anyway.
Well, thank you, Zach, for sending that in.
Yes.
Now we're going to tell you everything wrong with what you said. No.
Well done.
No. Oklahoma comes into the season. Brent Venables is in his second year. Last year, they were 6-7 overall. Not a stellar record, but a year of transition, 3-6 in the Big 12, which is far below Oklahoma standards. It was their first losing season since 1998. Yep. However, a bright spot to end the year in the Cheez-It Bowl. It was a 35-32 loss to Florida State, but as we've already talked about, Florida State's a pretty good football team, and Oklahoma put in a fight. You always like to see that in a bowl game like that. How's the team going to respond? Have they packed it in already? Evidently, Oklahoma didn't. Now, last year, their offense led the Big 12 in total offense, over 6,100 yards, 32.8 points a game, 474 total yards a game. That put them at 13th nationally. Yep. They are led on the offensive side of the ball by Jeff Libby, who spent 2 years at Ole Miss, but he actually played offensive line at OU, and they returned a pretty good quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, who was the Big 12 newcomer of the year, passed for 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. How about this? 154.4 passing efficiency rating.
That's fantastic.
And when you look at this offense, Darren, OU has always been known for offense. And the knock on OU, particularly during the Lincoln Riley years, was they didn't play defense. Do you see the offense continuing the high level this year, or do you see a step back? What do you expect from Oklahoma in terms of their offense?
I think their offense continues to improve. I think, Jeff Levy has things going in the right direction. I mean, just like we talked about, one of the complaints every year under the Lincoln Riley regime was too offensive heavy, which means that even though there were several people that left that hit the transfer portal once Lincoln Riley was gone, there was still a whole lot of talent there. And they've continued to recruit and develop talent. So I think the offense continues to take a step forward. I think Dylan Gabriel takes a big step forward, has a really, really nice year. Their running backs are going to be, it's going to be a strong running back room. So that's going to give you some balance and some opportunities to open up or to play both sides there and not just be run heavy or pass heavy as some teams tend to do sometimes. So I think the offense continues to take a step forward and is a bright spot this year.
On the other side of the ball, the defense led by Ted Roof, who's been a little bit of everywhere, including a stint at Vandy at one
Yep.
point. He is a co-coordinator with Todd Bates, who coached with Venables at Clemson, was a part of the Clemson staff in the 2018 national championship team, known for being a good recruiter. And OU needs that because they struggled in 2022, second worst defense in the Big 12. However, some bright spots. They had 104 tackles for loss, 17 interceptions. So all is not lost. There's a lot of work that has to be done. They brought in some transfers on the defensive line. They've got a great linebacker coming back in Danny Stutzman. I think over 120 tackles last year. Safety position should be better. When you look at this defense, is Venables going to be able to get them to play the defense that he's known for throughout his career, or is this going to be another year of struggle?
They've had back-to-back top 10 recruiting classes. They've had also top 10 transfer classes, and it's Brent Venables. I will be the most surprised if this year's defense looks like last year's defense. I think there will be definitely, you talked about Ted Roof, man, that dude has been everywhere, has years of experience. So he knows how to pull a defense together, even with you're dealing with transfers and new players. I don't think the defense will take as big of a step forward this year as the offense will, but I still think they take a step forward.
I think so. I would, like you, Darren, I'd be absolutely shocked if they don't.
Absolutely.
With Brent Venables at the helm. Let's look at their schedule coming into this season. They start off with an home opener against Arkansas State. Then they have SMU at home, which could pose a little bit of an early challenge.
Yep.
They travel September 16th to Tulsa. Then September 23rd, they go up to play at Cincinnati. September 30th, Iowa State. October 7th is the game that is circled every year on the calendar.
But especially this year.
Against Texas in the Cotton Bowl.
Yep.
That's going to be a huge game because we'll talk about Texas in a few minutes, but I think it's safe to say Oklahoma will be the underdog coming into this game.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
October 21st, they host UCF. Then they travel to Kansas. We'll see how Kansas looks this year. Then they go to Stillwater for Bedlam. Oklahoma State. November 11th, they host the Mountaineers from West Virginia. And then an interesting scheduling decision. November 18th, they go to BYU.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough kind of the end right there at the end of the year. And depending on what TCU looks like and how Oklahoma's schedule is going, that could be coming out of your bye. That could be an ugly little run to end the season, because I think UCF has the ability to surprise them. Then you've got Kansas and Oklahoma State. Will Kansas carry forward? It seems that they will, but we don't really know because it's Kansas. So you don't really there's not that precedent of having multiple years of success. Then you've got Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and then to finish up at BYU and TCU coming to Norman. That's a tough end to the schedule. I mean, it's not don't mean to be whatever, but it's not what we've talked about with some of the SEC schedules. But that's a final run that's got some difficult hurdles potentially in it for sure.
Yeah, and they close out with TCU. So,
yep.
Last year in the Big 12.
Yep, that's right. And I think they have the potential to finish strong. I was listening to an Oklahoma podcast over the weekend, and the guy he's not an Oklahoma fan; he's an Oklahoma reporter, but he had them at 11-1. I don't think they're going to finish that strong, but I think they have the potential to finish strong and really have a strong showing in their final year of the Big 12.
That would be quite the statement.
Yep, definitely.